So you're moving to Portland, Oregon. You've seen a lot of my videos and our videos, and I got something new in my face. I'll address the elephant in the room. Hey, just to prove that there is sunshine in the Northwest, I actually had Mohs surgery, but a basal cell. Anyways, there was some cancer on there. They dug me a swimming pool in my face and removed it. Luckily, everything went fine. So I don't want you to see my face the whole time, but I'm going to be talking directly to you. If you're moving to Portland, Oregon, to Vancouver, Washington, this market's insane. We just got our inventory report released, 1.1 months of inventory. It's the lowest in the history of this area. So, I mean, everybody can move and relocate wherever they want to. So partnering yourself with somebody who knows the relocation process is going to be the most important thing you do. So Heather Listy, she is the absolute lead of our team, the Real Agent Now group right here in Portland, Oregon. She's handling all the relocation. She's a specialist. She got invited to the top real estate podcast because of her skills in relocation. So she's going to be going over the 5 things you absolutely must know about relocating to Portland, Oregon, to Vancouver, Washington. So I'm going to kick it over to her. But before I say that, we literally get phone calls, emails every single day, multiple every day, and we absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about moving anywhere in Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Washington, make sure you give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Days, nights, weekends, we got your back when moving to Portland, Oregon, and Vancouver. Gonna see our quick little team intro real quick, and then we're gonna jump right into Listy. And I'm telling you, it's longer. Break it into pieces if you have to, whatever. Get through this process, because if you're moving here, this is the information that will arm you with the most information to get an offer accepted, to make sure you find that home. And we're getting after it right now.
But we're going to hit 5 of the most important things when you're structuring a relocation. And this is really important, everyone. And this wasn't even on our show notes or our agenda, but I would just want to say, if you're not working with someone that specializes in this process, moving from across the country, you're really putting your experience at risk. And a very common tell is people get a new job, and they are pushed into a box of like the employer servicing, where it's like, hey, use this agent, use this service. And really, Listy, we never hear success stories from that opportunity. Seems like a win, but like, tell us a little bit about that real quick, because that comes up a lot.
It does. Yeah. So a lot of people will be relocating. Their employer hooks them up with a real estate agent that might not be familiar with their state, our state, getting across country, all the moving parts. So yeah, I think finding somebody here local is your best thing to do. I mean, they'll work with your real estate agent. They'll work with your relocation company to help you.
And let's go. Yep. Here we go.
There's
Number 1. We're going into number 1, guys, the biggest point that we put together. Listy, we're going to talk about your employment for relocating, the job situation. Yeah. Boom. Go with it. Number 1.
Number 1. So employment. So many people. Are you working remote from home? So you can now work anywhere in the U.S. Fantastic.
Big 2020 point. Yeah, relocation.
Big. That is huge. Lots of people relocating because now they are going to be working remote more. You know,
are they or are they not?
Now all the time. So they have this opportunity to live wherever they want. So that's awesome. I love it. If you're
that's scenario 1. So we're getting a ton of people who are getting newly approved remote work. Yep.
Well, and you've seen companies put it out there for employers indefinitely. You know, approved remote work indefinitely for the for the company. So
want to go live where they want to live now because they can work from anywhere, which is fantastic. Number 2 is people are looking for a new type of employment. They are changing jobs.
They're having to get a new job.
They're having to get a new job. They want to relocate to the area and they want to get a new job. This can, cause some hiccups in getting loans. And you need to be really aware of, okay, is this a brand new job? Is this a new career? Like, if you're changing careers and you're going into a completely new type of employment that you don't have a history, and that can affect your loan.
Look at that, dropping down lender knowledge.
God, I love that.
Some people don't realize that. They're like, oh, I got a job. Oh, but I haven't done that job for the last 5 years. This is something completely new. And that affects you guys.
Yeah, and you know, we cover that in like some of our other episodes,
Yeah.
and putting a little bit of color to that. So approved remote work. There's a couple different scenarios here. Number one, you have indefinite approval to work remotely. Some people don't. A lot of people think just because it's temporary that they can go live anywhere right now and that income still qualifies. Not necessarily. So the verification of employment process, right, Casey, is going to be they want that verification of indefinite remote approval. So that's scenario number one. And then scenario number two, to Listy's point, is they're needing to find a new job. And there's a lot of little things there that you need to consult with your lender regarding the storyboard and the timeline so that we can make at least as accurate as an advisement of what needs to be done. Because to your 2-year history note, you might or might not need that. It depends.
Exactly.
Is it, do you have schooling or a degree for that, certification, industry specific? This year has brought forth a lot of underwriting considerations for employment based on the stability of the industry, right?
Totally.
You know, C's Candy Shop doesn't show a bright future right now in the mall comparatively to, you know, a hospital CT scanner. And my apologies up front for anyone that is a C's Candy advocate or employee. I wasn't trying to make light of that.
No.
But just
We love our C's Candy, though. Great closing gifts, guys.
Great closing gifts, Easter, you know, stuff like that.
But I mean, let's be honest, guys. Some retail stuff out there compared to medical, you know, or hospital, you know, I mean, that's just where it's at right now. The retail struggling, hospital stuff where it's at with our.
Well, and Casey too, we had this situation with a joint client is the self-employment. Because that becomes even more complicated. A lot of people make that assumption. Oh, I've been doing this job, so I get all of my they might hit that 2-year self-employed, taxes, all that stuff. But the service is very important because it might need to demonstrate some consistency in revenue in the new location. My example is online tutoring. Met a gentleman who's an online math tutor, right? Yeah, you can move from Denver to Portland because 100% of his revenue on his self-employed taxes were all internet-based business.
Yeah.
But you can't be a dog walker in Florida and come to the West Coast and assume that you're going to have the same dog walking business. That is not going to work.
No.
Right. That physical location discrepancy there is going to hang you up, right? I mean, you actually have to have a location. Your business is coming from the surrounding area that you're living in, right? That's completely different for sure. If you're online, no physical presence needed.
And I'm not ruling out, and of course I got to throw in the compliance riffraff here. Every loan is, you know, subject to approval, program specific, the lender you're using, the loan program, a lot of different variables. But I'm just wanted to emphasize the point that you need to get with your lender and talk about that strategy there.
And it's easy to make assumptions as a client. You think it's all right, right? You think that you just started that Uber driving job and it's all good. It's just stuff that you honestly need to have that conversation with your real estate agent and your lender, because honestly, we're the experts in it and we'll be able to actually give you the proper advice, allow you to make that right decision.
Well, and I like to see people have that conversation before they relocate, because you would be surprised how many people I have show up here and, you know, they've sold their house, you know, down in California, and they're here and they're looking for jobs and they want to buy a house right now and they don't have the job, or they're living in an Airbnb and they're kind of stuck.
And
I want you to have that conversation about employment with your real estate agent and your lender before you make the move.
100%.
Before you make the move.
Before you make the move.
Great
That's why
point.
it's number one.
To roll out that, to kind of conclude that first point, if you do have a job, because this is very common and a lot more positive. So say you get an offer. Hey, I got an offer at this new job. You're going to want that employment offer, an official one that's got a couple different main things. The company header, a date, a start date, details to the compensation structure, and ideally it's base, not performance, because it's really important, guys, to have that offer letter and discuss with your lender to make sure that you're working on a structure of income that's qualifying.
Absolutely.
And that kind of gets the ball rolling.
And have it be as detailed as you possibly can on that letter. You know, the more information we have, the better. If it's just like, hey, you're just going to get paid kind of whatever you get paid based off of however hard you work, that's kind of hard for us to determine what the pay is. But if it's like, hey, this person's a $35,000 salary, and that's what the pay is, great. We know the exact number. So if you can get that detailed, have those conversations, you are setting yourself up for success.
So let's go to number 2.
That was good, guys.
Yeah, good chiming there. The rhythm's nice. The pace is nice today.
All right.
I like it. And producer Josh doing a great job today.
Oh, he's doing great.
And we got Kanoa.
Killing it.
Kanoa's killing it too. He's running around with his photography.
Yes.
And
Professional photographer.
There's a little camera going on.
like the real thing.
Netflix is next.
You keep talking about Netflix.
I'm just waiting for people to be
You
like,
were
yeah,
just
Netflix
like,
is happening.
Did you have a Netflix like marathon recently? Because you brought it up.
I just want to get us on Netflix. That's my goal.
Let's do it.
Pushing for season 2.
All right.
Interesting.
Rolling in.
You know, I think we got a better chance of like Peacock, like something that's like kind of an off app.
Maybe.
I mean,
Maybe. They haven't watched me an ad yet.
that's true. That's true. So going to number 2, guys.
Number 2.
Where will you stay when you arrive? This is a big one because everyone wants to talk about, hey, and this is why, Listy's going to bring in some great insight here on this because run with that, Listy. What are people asking you? What are the scenarios you're seeing? Because it's all over the place. Hey, we might come and rent. We might.
Absolutely. So people, they might show up here and they might need a rent, whether they're going to do it long term or short term. Most of the time they want to do it short term because they want to invest their money into a home. And I get that. But then they're going to have to find somewhere to land. Do you want to get into a short-term rental? That's expensive. I mean, you've got first month, last month's rent. You've got security deposits, cleaning deposits. We are finding Airbnbs is a hot ticket right now, especially with the pandemic. I mean, think about all these Airbnbs that have lost so much revenue. I mean, there's no travel. People aren't traveling right now. They're not coming and vacationing. So these Airbnbs have lost revenue. So it's opened them up to do a little bit of a longer term. So you can get an Airbnb like a month to 3 months. I have a client that, rented it for 6 months. And they were able to
6 months.
Yeah, 6 months, which is great. But here's what's great about it, people don't realize, is the longer you stay at an Airbnb, you can start negotiating those rates with the owner.
Yeah, buddy.
So you can save some money.
Nuggets right here.
This is what I love. So I am recommending my clients to look into Airbnbs. Save some money, save some time,
That's big.
What
would you guys think, or what have you guys seen normal time someone would spend in this, let's call it in between, situation?
Well,
or average or something, 2 weeks.
If they're moving here, they're looking for a place to land to then start looking at homes to buy. They've departed their residence wherever they came from. They're here. Ideally, they want to be 30 to 45 days. They want to be in and out quick.
Okay.
I would say on average, it's about 2 months. I would say 60 to 90 days is what I'm average, seeing most of my clients in an Airbnb for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you probably want to prepare yourself as a relocating buyer that, you possibly could be spending anywhere, from 30 to 60 to maybe 90 days in this Airbnb or in between, situation.
Absolutely.
That's
and that depends. Like,
Yeah.
if you're coming here and you haven't started looking for homes,
right.
that's what your average is going to be.
Got it.
But yeah, if you've
Already got it set up, right? And we're in the process. Maybe that's only a week or 2 weeks or something. Got it. Got it. Okay, that's good nuggets right there.
It's a big, it's a big nugget. It's something that wasn't around last year because it's a supply and demand on temp housing. But I'd like to hit home more on the financing side with that, guys. Like, if you're thinking about coming here and having that transition, you want to get to know the areas or whatnot. It's important because if you get into an apartment, there's a lot of fees right now. With the uncertainty of the economy, landlords are layering tons of move-in fees to high-end deposits, no short-term. They want to lock that for a really long minimum of a year in most cases.
They're forcing those.
Yeah, so it's just a great way to save money. And a lot of people we see, do the math. And they think they're going to stay somewhere, and then they come running back, and they're like, it's going to cost us $3 or $4 grand more to do it this way, because just because all your stuff is now here or in your new place, and you just got to move it, cross city, it's still moving. It still costs money, so you're moving twice.
Yeah.
Totally.
So a lot of people are trying to limit that and time more like storage units or pods and utilize what Listy is advising here with the the deals.
Yeah, I
Everybody
like that.
wants that deal.
Airbnbs, work with them. Just ask them. You negotiate those rates. It's fantastic.
I
Saving
didn't
people
even
money.
know that. How cool is that? Like,
right?
you negotiate that down.
You just got to ask the questions. You got to go to them. Hey, I'm looking to stay here for 3 months.
Yeah, let's make a little deal, you know?
Let's make a deal.
I see your
They
lawn
will
out there.
make a
Needs a little
side
trim.
deal.
I'll get out there. I'll mow that thing for you right now.
Exactly.
No, this is great. God, that's good
They will.
information.
And I mean, I did have some clients that came from Washington, D.C., and they were in their Airbnb for just over 2 months. And they actually had a garage that had a ton of room. They let them actually store their stuff in the garage.
Wow.
So it worked out really well for them.
That's
Huge.
Yeah, that was
benefit.
huge. Now, is that going to happen at every Airbnb? No, that's not going to happen. But
No.
we lucked out with this one. I mean, it was fantastic that they had a place to store their things until they could close on their home.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that hits number 2, right? So we're gonna go number 3, and this is a pretty big one. The communication between title agents, lender, the whole works. Everyone working for you on the departing residence, and the new residence. So this is specific for people that are selling a home and buying a new one, right? Real estate.
Yeah, communication is huge. You need to make sure you put, like, if I'm helping you here with a home in Portland, I need to talk with your agent in California. I mean, I'm going to want to talk with them before we've even made an offer. So that's when the communication starts. I want to know what's going on, keep it going. But also the lender of the buyer of your home. I like to be in communication. Where are we at? Is there any setbacks? Like, is everything on time? Because if that is not running smoothly down wherever you're coming from, it's going to affect us up here. So you really have to have that open communication between all parties that you're working with.
There's a lot to that, Cart, because if you're selling a home, obviously you're going to eventually move out. You're dependent on that equity for the purchase of the new one. The time frames are extremely important. So you're going to want to get with your lender, and a lender that understands that, you know, like we have to communicate with those people in the other state. So there's 2 teams and you got to be proactive. And if you're not understanding, like, getting all those documents from the sale and the urgency of a final settlement statement, which is required for the purchase of the new one, and the wire and all of this stuff, there's so many steps. It's one of the biggest things that I see on relocation that makes the process a lot harder. So
For sure. And I can only imagine, I mean, you know, communication's imperative, especially for closing real estate deals here locally. I mean, just locally, you're going to have buyer's agent, listing agent, clients, lender, title officer, appraiser, home inspector. I mean, I can start racking these fingers off, and those are all people, and you can't hear us listeners, but that's 5, 10 fingers I had holding up. You can't see us.
Can you hear that? That was 10 fingers.
It's 10 fingers if you can hear it. But that just means a lot of people are involved in that transaction. There's a lot of hands going in. And now put it, you know, where you're going cross country. So we're dealing with New York and stuff like that. So what they're, you know, listing at you or driving home to you guys is very important, because communication all the way around can make or break your real estate deal, hands down.
There's a lot of moving parts, and things are done differently in different states. It's real estate, and like
another good point, yeah, because you'll get some states that are attorney states.
Absolutely, yeah, attorney states, they do things differently, and their attorneys are on their own timeline.
And does that mean, and for anyone that might not know that, guys, is that they only deal with attorneys? They're not dealing with title and escrow, or they're dealing with both, right?
Yeah, you're represented by your own attorney, and you're not dealing with escrow, a third neutral party.
Got it.
You have somebody working directly for you.
Another hand involved.
But I think it's interesting. I'm surprised at how many transactions that I'm working with where I have another title company I'm working with on their departing residents, and just trying to get the 2 escrow companies to communicate and talk to each other. And I'm a matchmaker.
Matchmaker.
And then
I've got to make sure that everybody is communicating. So not only am I talking to them, but you have to make sure title companies are talking. And there's a lot of moving parts. So talking with your lender, talking with your realtor.
Because you're explaining, you could have your title could be set up to 2 separate things. You could have a title company, and you have a separate escrow officer. You can have those setups too. So communication, guys, I think it literally is one of the most, if not the most important thing during a real estate transaction.
And I'm shocked at the number of realtors that I'm working with out of state that have people relocating. And I feel sad because they're a little uneducated on helping their sellers move, and how many times I've had to step in to kind of help in several different situations if something has happened on the transaction on the other side, and trying to come up with solutions.
Yeah, if you're out there and thinking about moving, I highly, and you're talking to an agent, ask about their most recent relocation if they're staying there, and then ask for specific details, you know, like
totally. I mean, how many transactions have you done? How many relocation transactions have you done would be a very important question. I mean, you want to almost, and tell me if I'm wrong, Listy, but don't you want to almost interview maybe your real estate agent to make sure? I
tell people to. Yep, absolutely. Like, I would love to have a conversation with you, but I want you to have a conversation with another realtor too. You have to make sure it's the right fit. It's the right, match for you.
Knowledge, personality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just, as much as we want to say every transaction is just, unicorns and rainbows, there's a lot of hiccups. And so I just want to make sure that you have the right agent representing you on both sides of the transaction. Yeah. And I work with a lot of channel partners. So if you don't have an agent in your state, please let me know, because I'm happy to connect you with somebody in another state that we work with.
And that piece of it works really well when you've got both your buyer agent in the new town and the selling agent on the same page, on the same team. They have the same set of experiences specific to the relocation. It's awesome. You've got starters on the floor. To put the sports analogy. Okay, so
you got starters on the floor. That's a good one. I was going to go with the analogy that relocation is kind of like a road course, that you race on, because you got different types of turns: left turns, right turns, hairpin turns, and some of your Manila real estate transactions is like just a NASCAR super speedway where we're just straight with a 45 left turn constantly.
Is hairpin an actual driving term? Hairpin turn?
Yeah, isn't it like a 180? I think maybe 180 turn. I don't know. Not a race car driver. That's all right. Just a podcaster.
And mortgage advisor, first and foremost. Geez, a veteran.
Veteran. There we go.
We love you.
Yeah.
No, I was just curious. I hadn't heard that one. I want to use it more often.
Tight.
Okay, so this is probably going to get to closer to the bone of the steak here. Number 4 being how to structure a competitive offer in your market, because this is a big one. And on my notes, I've hit the unfortunate reality that HGTV is not accurate. Like, I straight up typed that in, because Listy, run with that a little bit.
Yeah, it's not. Like, I feel really bad. You get people that'll call and, they're calling from out of state, and they're like, hey, I want to live in Oregon, and I want to be on a half an acre to an acre overlooking the river on a bluff, and I want my house to be 2,500 square feet.
Jacuzzi tub.
Jacuzzi tub. That's a thing. Yeah, jacuzzi tub. Soak all the way in.
One level, 4 acres.
One level, and my budget's $350.
Walking distance from local coffee shops.
Yeah. So you need to know your market and what you want that acreage, or you got to know your off. You got to know your market, and that when you go in and
and hit the TV thing really, really quick.
It's the TV thing. It's not. You're not going to get that for 350,000 people. That's what I'm saying. HGTV is not accurate.
So I've got a quick story. So quick story. We had HGTV Caribbean Life.
Yeah, you did.
Tick, going one weekend while we're getting stuff done.
Buy the island or not?
This is how it goes. It's like, okay, we're looking at $300,000 to $400,000 homes. And they go through the whole episode. And then they sit down, they're doing the corny little island drink with the huge pineapple size. The ocean's going in the background. The breeze is up. The husband's got the Tommy Bahama that's one size too big.
Rocking it like Casey with 3 buttons unbuttoned.
Chest hair flapping out. Absolutely. And the agent's like, well, all prime and proper. So what do you guys think? Well, we're going with Big Blue. Oh, that's great. What do you think? It's offered at $400. And we think we're going to come in at $191. And you just see the agent like, well, that's a starting point.
Yeah.
And then it's just one of those things where it's like, guys, that's not happening.
Yeah.
The low ball, it's supply and demand. It's not personal, and we make fun of it, but And
I mean, huge fan of HGTV over here, guys. I mean, my wife watches it constantly, but you just have to know markets. You got to understand, right? Like when we're showing Texas and stuff like that, that's completely different market than Oregon or Pacific Northwest.
Absolutely.
You got to understand that TV show, showing the truth of it isn't sexy and entertaining. So it's going to be kind of put...
Wait, that's
not
TV?
real.
That's not real.
I had to pay sales price. That's the end of the episode. Like, people aren't pressing next after that conclusion.
Yes.
I might press next if it just bombed, but I'm in real estate and I find that interesting. So,
so I just think, like, put it back. The importance of understanding the market. What are houses going for?
Exactly.
So give us some examples of what's going on in this market that you're playing in, you know?
Well, right now our inventory is low. So it is a seller's market and they are getting top dollar, and we've got multiple buyers, meaning multiple bids, over asking. So we've got to be competitive and we've got to be creative when making our offers, and it's been huge.
It's been really big.
Yeah, it's been big. Again, this is where your agent comes in, and you got to make sure your agent is in there discovering what the sellers need, what's going to make your offer stronger. Obviously, you know, a lot of people, you know, let's say your escrow closes in 30 days, you know, is the seller going to want to move out on the day that they close and move right into their home? They probably need a couple extra days. So finding out if the seller is moving in right away, do they need a couple extra days of rent back? You know,
totally.
Being competitive, offer them some free rent back for a week or two. I mean, that can add a ton to your offer. It's something super simple. It really is. That's just an example of one thing to add to your offer to make it competitive in this multiple.
Yeah, I think
offers.
what you're saying is, like, you do a really good job at the discovery process
Figuring out-
from the seller's point of view.
Yeah.
I think a lot of
Yes.
buyers look at it from their point of view, which is very
is.
natural, right?
Which is
We all
natural. Like me, what can I get? And as your agent, I am there to help you. But if you want this house in this type of market here that we're in right now, we need to figure out what does the seller need so we can make you more competitive to make your offer accepted.
Yeah, the rent back thing is really big right now because, guys, something that's different with 2020 case, and I know you and I talk about this all the time.
Totally.
So many more offers are contingent now, which means they can't buy until they sell, but there's a lot of fear to go on the market until there's a defined home or a new place. So if you're non-contingent, that plays into a huge factor. And if you can give the people that you're buying a house from that rent back, that little wiggle room, super appealing. That gives them time. And going up to some of our other points, we're taking advantage of a short-term Airbnb and timing everything accordingly. There's a lot more logistics to it than one might think, right, Casey?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, there's just stuff moving around, guys. And I mean, you know, when you're working with people that have your back, or at least looking to try to, you know, help you get this offer accepted, I mean, we're looking beyond rather just putting it on paper and putting it on the table, right? Because, you know, we have it marked here. I'm sure you might have rolled into it, but it's like, how would a seller know yours is different than anybody's? You know, you just said, Listy, right? We have a bunch of offers going on these.
Bunch of offers.
So it's like, what's separating, you know, Addie and Listy's client on paper rather, you know, from these other 10? And so, you know, I think it's something that, you know, from your competitive offer standpoint, how would you guys approach that? Or what's a better,
absolutely.
What's the strategy for you guys there?
Communicating. Back to what we've already talked about is communicating. You've got to start communicating with that seller agent, you know, finding out what works for them. But also, not only me, but Addie as a lender, you know, one, I will say really fast, when working with a lender, make sure you're working with a local lender, people. It speaks volumes to an offer. And I know, Addie, you, in fact, on many deals that you and I have worked on, you call the selling agent directly and have a conversation on the buyer's behalf. And you don't find that happening with other lenders. And you'll do it on the weekend.
Yeah.
What lender do you find working on a Saturday night at 8 p.m. when I've submitted an offer is picking up the phone and calling the agent and having a conversation on behalf of the buyers and, you know, where they stand, you know, financially and how strong that this loan is. That's huge. You're not going to get that from a lender that you found online that's, you know, on the other side of the country and they're, you know, working East Coast hours.
That's a really good
it makes
point.
a huge difference.
And just to put it out there, because, you know, our audience is all across the United
Absolutely.
States. So the big takeaway that I
Yeah.
can't say, I can say what Casey and I would do to calling in advance, introducing and
Yeah.
testing. But if you're going to do anything, use, to Listy's point, use that local lender. Because it's just to give a little bit of framework, like with how busy it is with lower interest rates, refinances, a hot interest rate market, low inventory across the nation, supply and demand, right?
Historic volumes. I'll just put that. Historic volumes out there.
Just
guys.
that hammer down. We need a short little 3-second clip. I want to get that.
People need to
sound.
understand that. Historic volumes. This isn't one transaction happening in a month. These are thousands of transactions happening a day.
This is big. So if you're using somebody, say you're buying a house on the East Coast and you're going to use a lender in the Midwest, where do you think they're going to put their attention to? Probably the Midwest area deals prior to the ones that they have zero consequence if it doesn't, have good communication or close on time.
You don't see me. I'm in another state, What is that? What did I always say in the Navy? Out of sight, out of mind.
That's what you said in the Navy?
Oh, yeah. If they didn't see you, how are they going to put you to work? Out of sight, out of mind, guys. But seriously,
Proud
it's easier to stay.
be an American.
It's like, guys, if you're sitting back in another state, though, I mean, really, though, Addie makes a great point. Are you focusing on your transactions in that state,
Right.
over the deals you have in outside states? Most likely, or obviously, we're not going to speak for people on that, but let's use some common sense and think about it. So it probably would be good, maybe someone local to be working with.
But I also I know here in Oregon, supporting local speaks volumes. I mean, that's just a thing that we do in the Pacific Northwest. You try to support local, and that speaks kind of volumes also, I think, to the community.
I want to hear, before we close out this
Yeah.
segment, I want to hear your story, Listy, about the individual who wasn't a local lender and didn't have the license.
Yeah, that was bad.
Hit me with some story.
That
This is the
was
biggie.
bad.
This is the biggie
This
that
was
deserves a story time music jingle.
Story time. Story time.
Nice.
Unpack it.
I know. Had a buyer from Arizona moving up here. Actually, they were buying a rental up here, which is great. And they wanted to use their lender.
A buddy, a friend, a colleague, someone they met on the trails hiking.
A total buddy, a friend. Friend wanted to help them, and didn't tell them that they were not licensed here in the state of Oregon to do loans.
Can you believe
so
that?
instead of not telling, keep in mind, we are in the middle of a pandemic when this is going on. We're still in a pandemic, but pandemic started, we're talking government offices are closed currently, so long story short, the lender didn't want to tell them, so he just decided he was going to apply to become a lender in Oregon. Well, the offices are delayed. The things are closed down. You can't just snap your fingers and get your, lending license in Oregon from Arizona.
This guy was trying to get his license before the transaction closed,
Yeah,
so
no
he
one
could
on
be
his
licensed.
team had the license.
Escrow.
This guy.
We had already been, we were in contract. We had sent prelims. This guy waited 2.5 weeks into the transaction before he told anyone and handed it off. And I mean, I'm daily calling for updates, trying to communicate. I'm texting. I'm blowing his phone up, texting, emailing, calling, and I'm getting no answers. I'm now setting the buyers, sicking in them on like a dog on them. Hey, you got to call your friend. He is not answering me. This is when it all comes out, and he passes it off to somebody else. This guy has to start from the beginning. So now we are 2.5 weeks delayed in this transaction, starting from the beginning. So we're supposed to close in 2 weeks, and guess what? Now we're not closing for another, 30 days.
You know what blows my mind on that one
bad.
is the fact that, at least I know on most systems, in order to demonstrate loan estimates or pricing quotes, you need your license to tie in to obtain that pricing, or it won't let you.
Right.
So I remember this particular situation where they came to me with some very aggressive interest rates that well, can you match or beat this? And it just was no, I don't do that. We have really good rates. This just doesn't seem right to me, right?
Yeah.
And I do this with all my clients. People know I'm not pushy. I'm hey, you can use whoever you want. I know my service level is good. I know my interest rates are very competitive. But how was that mortgage advisor even putting together quotes compliantly if they don't have the license in the state?
Yeah, there should have been no pricing for that guy.
Here's what's even better. The loan officer that took over the transaction,
Yeah.
we were delayed even more because he forgot to lock the rate.
Oh, I forgot to lock it.
Yeah, he forgot to lock the rate in.
All right, so we got a story here of a guy that whoever it was, did something I'm going to call just straight up illegal. You can't do a loan in a state if you're not licensed, right? So you got a guy out there doing that. You got another person out here who's not locking clients' rates in or forgetting to do that, right? That's a major point. So, and these are the people out there that people, are choosing, right, to do their real estate transaction, guys. Please interview who you're working with, multiple people. And then if you have no idea, I'm going to give you a number right now to reach out for free advice. And what is this number, Addie? This is 503
VIP
9038. And Addie,
that VIP is 847. So it's 503-847-9038. We'll throw it up on the board. Producer Josh, give us the people you get to call, text.
Yeah, guys, take that for your advantage, because what Lissy's telling you guys here is real. This happens to people in real estate, and it's horrible. That breaks our heart, because we know the service we put in, and we know where we stand against competition. Obviously, we're here, they're there, but we're not talking about that right now. But people that need to have given the right advice so they make the right decision with their purchase is paramount. And if you're in this industry and you're fine with doing illegal stuff like that, dude, I'm not having that. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want Casey to start sweating because I don't have any towels.
Yeah. We'll keep her cool. Casey's calming down.
Yeah.
Right.
Deep breath.
But do the right thing for your client.
But
you should.
You hit us up on that VIP line if you need a second opinion, even if it's a safe island.
It's a safe island.
It's a safe island.
It's a safe place.
Grab a drink. Grab a drink. It's a safe island, man.
And what is that? It's a family box. What was that? The meet the parents. It's a safe space, right?
Safe space.
Circle of trust.
Circle of trust, guys.
Yeah,
I thought you were to say tiki bar.
And I will. I call Addie on deals that you're not the lender on, and I wish you were. And you walk me through some things, because I'm like, wait a minute. Like, hey, here's our scenario. It's just important.
Hey, we've got our people's back, but also too, a lot of the stories are great for the podcast. Like, we come up with some videos, just videos and titles.
What stories are what? They come from the truth or something that's happened, something that's real. I love the stories. I love the fact that you brought those up, even though they're not.
If it's based on a true story.
It could be a made-up story, I guess, but we told the truth here, so
yeah.
Sorry,
We've got stories for days.
But it's like that, even though it's not the most positive thing, like it's real, guys, and that is huge information to know.
What is positive is that they had a real estate agent
that knew what they were doing.
That saved the deal.
Absolutely.
And even though we closed 30 days late, I still got it closed.
You got it done, and it takes people that are committed and specialize and are very good at communicating to be the gorilla glue of situations.
Yeah.
Keep it all together when it gets
for
tough. So let's kind of bring into our last point. Number 5, the roadmap to scheduling your move.
Wait, hold on. I want to go back.
Whoa.
I want to go back.
Yeah, what do we
I'm not done.
We got 4.
I mean, we talked about competitive offers, but one thing I just want people to be aware of when making a competitive offer is think about when you're asking for closing costs.
Oh, nice.
This is really important, you guys.
One of the most sidestep.
I mean,
things
obviously,
ever.
as your realtor, I want to save you as much money as I possibly can. If I can get you closing costs, I'm going to negotiate those. We're gonna try everything we can to make it happen, because I want you to keep the money in your pocket too. You got to go to Target and buy some new things for the house to decorate.
Target.
You want new furniture. I get it. I'm going to try to get those closing costs in your pocket to stay there.
Nice.
But in this market, sometimes paying your own closing costs, not asking for the seller concessions is huge. You want your offer to be as clean as possible. That's going in with your down payment, paying your own closing costs, 30-day close. I just want to be really candid about that, because that's huge right now. Offers not being accepted.
I think you made a good point there too, Lissy, you're seeing multiple offers, right? I mean, several offers on a transaction. Well, Mr. Buyer out there, what if the other, there's 5 offers, the other 4 don't have closing costs, you're the only one that has closing costs.
Yep.
Probably, might hinder on the competitive advantage. But like Lissy saying, as I crash the mic again, the importance of having a real estate agent that knows that, will go to battle, figure that out, pick that seller's brain and kind of figure out, okay, this is our play, guys, and we got it. That's who you need on your side.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, there's a lot of way to structure a loan, and it comes up to having a lender who cares and it's going to go the extra mile. Right. I intentionally take on less business so I can give more attention, especially to first-time home buyers who don't understand the process. But everyone knows my story from past episodes. It is important, though, to have a lender who's going to calculate those closing costs for you so you understand, and also give you a couple different ideas. Because one example is like, well, I don't have closing costs, right? So that's a totally different dynamic and strategy that needs to be discussed between the agent and the lender. But there's a lot of ways you need to know for every house, because the closing costs are going to change. They're going to get changed to the insurance, to the property tax assessment, what time of year, what county, what state.
Yes, sir.
There's going to be a lot of different factors. So before you put in, you need to know as close to possible what it generally is going to be, so you can create an offer that is competitive. Because there's a lot of times people are like dead set on doing X amount down.
Yep.
But we might be able to go a little bit less, utilize some structuring, and have essentially the same amount monthly payment and funds to execute paying your own closing costs.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
So
yep.
that communication is really important.
Yeah.
Lastly, on that point, I want to debunk a myth. A lot of people are confused, especially first-time home buyers. They think that you can finance your closing costs, meaning they think that you can just negotiate an accepted offer, paying your own closing costs, come to AddieNet as the lender and be like, great, can I take out another loan for the closing costs? It sounds funny. A lot of people think that, but they don't know what financing their closing costs really is. So the only way that you can finance your closing costs in to the mortgage is when you have interest party credits, so either seller credits or seller concessions, or you have credits from your lender. So there are caps and limitations to how much you can have as a credit, but essentially in a hot market, you are, say closing costs are 10 grand. You're going to offer 10 grand over and ask those sellers to pay $10,000 back. So it's a wash essentially. But I really wanted to know this because a lot of people think that you can just put it on your credit card.
Exactly. Well, and first-time home buyers also, a lot of questions is they think their down payment includes closing costs. They don't realize those closing costs are additional on top. So I just want to point that out really
Down
fast.
payment, closing costs, cash to close.
Yeah.
Combination.
Yes,
sir. It's confusing. So for sure, a lot of people want to have their closing costs paid for, and you financing them in, and financing them in is, let's say they're $10,000, you give the seller $10,000 extra dollars on your offer. So basically you're financing it in by giving it to them, giving them $10,000, but then they're going to give you a credit back for that $10,000. So yeah.
And also manage your expectations on the search level too, because say you're pre-approved for $375. Right? You need 10 grand in closing costs. It's a hot market. Everything's going over.
Yes.
Hold back Secretariat, the horse, and look at 350 because you're going to need 10 grand over on the average, plus another 10, plus a buffer. You know what I'm saying, Case?
Yeah, and I think you need to understand the market, right, and the area you're buying, because when it's hot like it is here in Pacific Northwest and we got multiple offers, if you're coming in with just the minimum, guys, most likely there's other offers on, if there's multiple offers that might have, more money down or, a little bit more skin in the game. You guys have to realize that your offer isn't the only offer most likely. So however we can structure it, however we can, make it work for you, we're going to go to bat, but we're in a market where it's competitive and there's other offers.
It is competitive. Here's another thought really just kind of throw out to you guys is when we have multiple bid offers and you're going above asking already and you're going to offer them even more on top of it because you want to finance in those closing costs. Where are the comps at? What happens when appraisals come?
Great
You
point.
can run into an appraisal issue that if your house doesn't appraise out, let's say you offer 400 and it only, because you asked for those closing costs, so that 10,000 credits there, and let's say it comes in at 380, you're 20,000 below. So we have an issue there. So the first thing that's probably going to happen is those sellers are going to come back and be like, we're not going to pay your closing costs because you need to come down. You overbid and.
And that's real what Lissy's saying too, because I've seen it on a couple of our transactions. It wasn't necessarily closing cost, just multiple offers, right? So it ended up going higher. People really wanted the house, so they went 5 higher than the next person. The next person went 5 higher than that person, right? I can't remember the numbers, but let's just say it was 30 grand higher or something like that. But though, is there comparable sales to match that price now that we've agreed upon? Because unfortunately, a couple of situations, there were ones close, not that high. And so appraisal value came in lower than what the purchase price was because that's just what the comps were. So great point.
So I've had people that I know are going to be working in their closing costs. They're going to, offer higher to have those. And we've started looking at some price points that are a little less. So I know we have some room to move.
Smart.
But also I know where the comps are at, and I know that we're going to, appraise out. I'm not going to put you guys in that situation, but just be aware of that.
Yeah, that's very smart. That's a smart play.
You can, a house is 400. You can offer as much as you want, but if it doesn't appraise out, you got issues. So just be aware.
You can buy the $400,000 house for $500,000 all day long, but it probably is going to value at $400,000 because that's what it is, right?
Yeah, and just kind of sliding to home on that one. Reference our appraisal episode from season 1.
Yes.
It was a COVID remote with Craig Black.
Yeah, that was a great episode, guys. I mean, we had a licensed appraiser on the show, went into all the meat and potatoes. It was good.
Yeah, he said he's going to come back for season 2 in studio. That's going to be good.
That's going to be good.
Are we good on
We're
transitioning?
good.
We pulled a little e-brake and you turned that, a returno, as they say in Mexico. But no, that was solid. So let's go to 5. We're going to conclude with the roadmap to scheduling your move. This is really big. So talk from the first call, like video conference to virtual tours. Give me experiencing buying a house with Listy.
So the first thing I always do with all of my buyers, I do a Zoom call. So before even the pandemic hit, our team, Real Agents Now, the YouTube agents, we do Zoom calls with our buyers. One, we want to get to know you, and that's the best way to do it is face-to-face. And if you're out of state,
I want to get to know you. I really want to find you special.
So that's important. We start building that relationship. I just want to learn about you, what you're looking for. I mean, why you want to move to the Pacific Northwest. What neighborhood vibe are you looking for? What are you looking for in a house? Bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, just, everything. I want to hear about your job. I want to hear why you're living, why you're leaving Arizona or Florida or New York or why are you coming here? Like, I just want to start that. Yeah.
Give us the story.
Right. Exactly.
So you guys are kind of having like a really nice face-to-face, virtually face-to-face,
absolutely.
in-depth initial consultation.
Absolutely.
Raw.
Yeah. It's good. I try to get a lot of people out here to visit. Let's do some neighborhood tours, check out, all the different quadrants here in the Portland area, but also up in the Vancouver area. We have a lot of people.
And that's big, guys. When you're going to another place, utilize someone that's really, and that's what I love with your approach, born and raised, you understand the areas. Yeah. And that's people most commonly want to know about that. That's why they watch your YouTube videos. Yeah. They watch Jesse, Jackson, Jessica, looking and showing all these different places so they can get real insight and match their lifestyle to the neighborhood.
We're super candid. I mean, we're real people, and I'm going to tell you how it is. So we like to go out and watch our videos because we have some great videos. Addie's on some of the videos as well. Which,
you have a saying, though. You talk more people out of buying.
I do because I am honest and super candid. What I never thought I would do was sell homes virtually. And even,
what's that like?
Yeah. So handing somebody keys to see their house in person for the very first time, when I'm handing them keys after it's closed, is actually happening. I've closed several this way.
You never saw the client?
Virtually.
Yeah, virtually.
Do you have like a selfie stick? And you're like...
Yes. So, we start with our Zoom call, and then, some people were planning on coming out and looking for homes, and then the pandemic hit and they couldn't come out. It couldn't, and they weren't expecting to buy virtually. Some are just like, hey, yeah, I'm totally open to it. Let's do it. I'm not going to make it out there. So those calls, I spent a lot of time talking about areas, neighborhood vibe, dialing in, getting a feel. What do you do outside of work? Like, do you want to walk to the park with your dog? Do you want to go down and, to your local, coffee shop? Yeah, schools is huge. Schools is huge. So once I've dialed them in, I start sending them homes. They send me homes. I'm very honest. Like, if they send me a home that's in an area you don't want to be in, I'm going to be like, yeah, no, it's some riffraff over there. We're not going to go over there.
Yeah, because these people don't know the locations like you do.
They don't know the location. So I'm super honest. But we will go check out homes. I FaceTime them. I have literally got down because people are funny with the questions they have. Does the carpet smell? I will get on my hands and knees and smell the carpet for you. I do it. I know it sounds so random, but they're like,
Got to.
You have to, because they're not there to experience. But I am going to show you everything about the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm going to point out. That's why I talk people out of homes more, because I'm so honest and I'm doing it virtually. I have to be honest and candid.
That makes the difference.
Yeah, you're caring about your clients.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, that's the truth, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
but I showed them their neighbors. I hold my phone. I've shown the neighbor's yard. Here's what you're looking at. Here's what's looking in your window.
Yeah.
She's all
Here's
looking
across the
through garbage.
streets. I have,
and you don't just notice the window or
Yeah.
the neighbor that's just hiding behind the curtain staring at you.
Totally,
back.
right? Yeah, for sure. I'll bring my kiddo with me sometimes on these tours, and then he'll hold the phone out the window and we drive around the neighborhoods and
That's
show
fantastic.
them virtually, just so they get a feeling. Or we'll walk down, like if they're
Totally.
looking for, the urban lifestyle where they want to walk down to the coffee shop or go have a drink, I'll show them where that's at. So, yeah. Anyways.
And guys, we're talking relocation here. So if you're relocating from one state to another state, buying property is what Listy and we're diving into. If you're just jumping in and listening to us, but think about that. You're in a different state. You can't see the neighborhoods. You can't smell the air, walk it, and she's doing everything possibly to give you that experience virtually. That's today's world, guys. That's huge.
It is. It is huge. Obviously, I would love for you to come here and buy your home, but it does happen virtually. And I am, now that the pandemic is just something we're living with, more people are taking the time to come up here, and I'm trying to get them into their neighborhoods and show them the neighborhoods. And even if they're, not buying for 6 months or to a year, at least I'm starting to pinpoint the areas that they like and don't like, which is fantastic. And then if they end up buying virtually, I have a better idea they've been here, and I can be like, hey, remember that huge park we were at over in Northeast, Portland? Right. This is where that house is located. I can, make those connections with them, which is fantastic. But as far as the roadmap, I really need flexibility. I mean, that's really important. Let's say we find a house, you get into contract, we're communicating, obviously, almost on a daily basis, back and forth on what's going on. But once you get here, let's say we are scheduled to close in 30 days. So let's say we're closing 30 days from today. Okay. Don't have your moving truck plan to be at your house in 30 days from today. Like, I just need some flexibility. I just want to be honest with that roadmap. Like,
but they always got it planned that day, Listy.
They do. Everybody, my closing date is on, October.
Oh, yeah, you got
22nd.
the U-Haul coming, Comcast, PGE, the fence is being built, the roof is being patched, new gutters, painters.
Yeah.
On the day we're trying to fund and record and do everything.
And there's so many variables to this year. Like, anything could happen. You never know. Like, we've had fires, evacuations, title company holdups, bank wire issues with
employers come down and say, hey, sorry, your job is gone.
Right. Or you can't get a hold of HR because they're working remote and they're too busy sipping on Chateau Ste. Michelle and watching The Bachelorette.
Yeah, they are.
So I feel bad bringing this up as a huge point, but the roadmap, it's the very end that's really important to talk about. Because hiccups do happen, and obviously we want to close in 30 days, and hopefully we'll be closing on that 30 day. But even then, a lot of people will be like, my moving truck is showing up at 10 a.m. Well, probably not going to be funded and recorded. I can almost guarantee you're not going to be funded and recorded by 10 a.m. You're looking at
closing days. If everything's going well, you typically get keys at the very end of business. Everyone,
like 5 p.m.
The people don't remember, even though they're typically told and explained. Don't remember that you don't really have accessibility till end of business. And there's certain times where, unfortunately, title and county might miss that mark. It doesn't happen a lot, but we had it happen last week where the title company just couldn't get it done. Couldn't get it. They had their excuses, but they said county was slow or the wire didn't come in or whatever. Really, people are human and make mistakes. And the flexibility piece that Listy's hitting home, let's just alleviate stress and give that bumper, right?
Yeah. So that's like
huge.
The important about the roadmap is just being flexible and understanding some things can happen. And just when you get, to wherever you're relocating, plan on a hotel or an Airbnb. My favorite thing, Airbnb. Just for a couple days, just to make sure, you know what, hey, if I don't close on this day, and I'm coming up from California on this day, I'm arriving the day we're supposed to close, just plan on having a spot like a hotel or an Airbnb for a night or 2 or 3. And having your moving truck come, a couple days later, just to make sure there's no hiccups. Because there's nothing worse, and I've had this happen, there's nothing worse than your house didn't close today. They're, the wire wasn't received, or your employer did not call back and, you know, verify that employment, that you're still employed. You know, so
the industry's changing.
The industry is changing. And so just, you know, things happen, but these moving trucks show up, and guess what? They're not going to wait. They're just going to unload it in the driveway. Like literally I had that happen. They just started, and it was at a townhome. So there was no garage, there was carport, and they literally started unloading because they had nowhere to go. And I couldn't get early occupancy. They were like, the seller was not going to have it. And I'm like, no, talking to the people unloading the moving truck and making, like, finding a place for it to go. And, you know, it's extra cost. It costs you more money when you can't unload, when you're telling these people that they're going to unpack their moving truck for you on closing day, and then they can't do it.
And it's on the first of the month, right?
Yeah, it's going to cost you more money. So really, think about that. Save yourself some money, because if they show up to unpack you and you can't let them unpack for 48 hours, you're going to be charged for another 2 days while they hold your stuff and then have them to come back out. So just be flexible.
This is a great episode. I feel good that we've experienced the most highly anticipated episode of season 1.
For sure.
Because this is such a great breakdown for people, not only if you're coming cross country, but locally. Like, think about what you can do to make this process easier. And I think we can slide into a close here and summarize.
Totally.
What do you think, Carp?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just a good episode for people to understand the complexity of it. It's so complex. People don't mean to make mistakes or do something without consulting, but that's a human nature. You think it's fine, and you make a decision or choice, and you're running with it. But guys, please, we stress the importance. Don't make any decisions first. Talk to somebody that you know is, you know, licensed, local, knows the transaction. Just ask them how many transactions they've done on the specific transaction you're doing. Relocation, VA, whatever it is, just tell me how many transactions you've done. That'll help you guys a lot for buyers.
Yeah.
I'm feeling this out, B. You hear that?
I like it.
I think it's slowly
Lissy just
upticking.
dropped some bombs.
Dropping
today.
some big
Thanks, you
one.
guys.
Produce.